During the introductory remarks, as have been mentioned, I will be covering business model innovation for competitive advantage. I have few slides which are very brief. I do not want to get into intricacies or in an elaborate way to the whole process. I'll limit myself to the conceptual framework and certain essential and critical elements of business process innovation. Now, first of all, can you please change the slide? Oh, I'll do it here. Okay. First of all, when any business starts, it starts with a very robust model. At that time, the business model which is prepared makes certain assumptions of the prevailing economic, social, legal, and technical environment. Based on that, a business process model or a business model is created and the business starts operating. Now, what happens once the business model is in place? Any manager feels certain emotional attachment to that model. Also, he has a tendency to believe that this model has succeeded for a long time, so it should succeed forever. So because of that emotional attachment, usually a business manager is very reluctant to change the business model or keep a constant watch on the business model and sticks to what was originally started. Now, there is enough empirical evidences that even a very robust business model cannot sustain at the most 15 years. Beyond 15 years, it outlives its utility, and due to many changes could be social, could be political, could be legal, could be economic, could be technological. All these changes comes into play, ranging between 10 to 15 years, and many of the assumptions which went behind the original model, business model, becomes obsolete. And this new changes also brings in not only new challenges, it also brings in new opportunities. And if we do not review, or if we do not change our business model, or do not come up with new innovative business model, then ultimately we not only lose to competition, we also miss the opportunity. So that is how, to sustain the competitive advantage, it is very essential that the business model innovation process is a continuous process and adapted by entity. Now, it says, there is some quote which says, continued existence of a company depends upon the level of adaptation to the environment and shaping the behavior with respect to expectations of environment on the one hand and the harmony of the subsystems on the other. So there are two essential ingredients here. One is that expectations of the environment. When we are talking about environment, we are not limiting ourselves to only customers. We talk about total environment, every stakeholder. So what is the expectation from the business, from all stakeholders on the one hand, that is which is external. And we're talking about internal also. Within the business, different systems and subsystems have their own way of functioning, but to maintain a harmonious relationship between all these systems and subsystems is another essential part of business model innovation. Now, for that, what we need a robust information system. The information system should be so well tuned to the environmental changes so that any signal which is in the market or any signal which is in the environment is immediately attracts the attention of business managers, and accordingly, the innovative business model process comes into play. Now, it's not only just to receive the signal. One part is to receive the signals, but the second important part is to act, or capability to understand the implications of those signals. And once these implications are understood, to act on that. So a business manager has to be sensitive to the changes that are happening or occurring in the marketplace or in the environment. And this is not a one-time process. This review and reassessment of the existing business model is a continuous process. Every time, along with other activities, a business manager, particularly the executive heads, need to reassess, review, the market signals, and based on that, they have to come up whether the business model needs any change or not. When I'm talking about business model, I'm not talking about revenue model, I'm not talking about any specific model, expense model or profit model. That is total business model as a whole. Now, some sort of definition that what is business model innovation. Business model is a system of interconnected and interdependent activities that determines the way a company does business with its customers, partners, and vendors. So it's not what is done, it is how it is being done. When you're looking at business model, we look at how part of it, not the what part of it. Now, what does it consist of? First of all, what sort of value proposition it offers the customers, and whether it is better than the competitor. In every business, ultimately, our business is around our customer. What is his customer expectation? And how can we best serve the customer expectation and better than all our existing competitors? So that's the first component. Second is a profit formula. A profit formula to demonstrate that how our cost model and revenue model interacting between themselves, how they can ultimately leave a margin. Because ultimately, we do business for a profit. And unless there's a profit, there is a sustained cash flow, no business can survive for long. I mean, you cannot go on doing business at loss year after year. So our revenue model, our cost model, and our margin model has to be worked together to be an integrated part of the total business model. Now, for that, we have to identify that once we have innovated a new business model, what are the key resource requirements? What are the resource requirements, incremental resource requirement for the new innovative business model to operate? And what are the changes or what are the key process requirements? Now, once that is identified, then we have to ask a few questions to ourselves. When the innovative business model process demands answer to certain questions. Questions like, what is the perceived needs that can be satisfied through the new model we are talking about? I mean, what the old model was not able to serve and what the new model has to serve. Second, which novel activities are needed to satisfy that perceived needs? What activities or additional activities are needed to satisfy the needs which are new or changing perceived needs? How the required activities could be linked to each other, some sort of integration or interconnection among different activities and in a very novel or model way. Who should perform each of the activities that are part of the business model? It could be outsourced, it could be internal staff, it could be a hybrid model where both are working, internal, external. So all sorts of models to be tried, that what part of the activity is to be done by whom. And how is the value created for each participant? For example, if I'm outsourcing something to an external agency to do that part of the activity, and does it benefit that particular outsourced agent? Because even outsourced agent would serve us or serve us better as long as it serves his purpose also. If he doesn't get, I mean, as they say always, that what is it for us? So there has to be something for both the parties. So you have to ensure that what each of the participants in the model, in what way he or they are benefited. Then what revenue model fits with business model to appropriate part of total value. So ultimately, each is a segment, each is a part of a total value. So total value that we are trying to create through this business model for the customer, in each of these, how it fits with the total revenue model. Is it a situation where to serve each of the part, if you aggregate them, the cost comes much higher than the total revenue that can be expected from the new activity. Now, this can be done, the model innovation can be done in three different ways. One, by adding novel activities, new activities. I mean, it can be backward integration, it can be forward integration, it can be product diversification, it can be many ways, but basically to change in activities. Second could be by linking the activities in a different way. The way they are interlinked, change that link, and maybe there's a process A, process B, and process C. Maybe process B is redundant. Maybe you can link directly process A to process C to eliminate part of the cost. So these are the things to be thought of, that how that can help in cost reduction. Then by changing one or more parties, one or more participants, like as I mentioned, certain things are being done in-house, then at some stage you may think that it doesn't make sense to do it in-house, maybe you have to outsource it. So, or certain things are being outsourced, at some stage you may think that we are not getting the right type of quality, despite our quality control measures, so maybe we have to do it in-house. So all those shifting from in-house to outsourcing or outsourcing to in-house, all those, is there a necessity of changing the partners? That's another key element there. Now, there are a few interlinked value drivers that what creates that value. I mean, ultimately by doing this process innovation, what we are trying to achieve. The first one, we call it novelty. It's basically how the processes or sub-processes are interlinked with each other. That is what ultimately is novelty, and that is how we try to find out. Second is lock-in. They try to sometimes lock in the customers. To give an example, Nestle, when they came up with a new machine, coffee machine, Nespresso machine, they made it very cheap, very low, below cost. They were selling it below cost. But simultaneously, they worked out a particular coffee capsule, which is a little more expensive, and that is the supply. I mean, that machine can work only in that coffee capsule. So whoever is buying that machine is locked in to that particular capsule. And then it creates a locked-in customer. So every time he wants to use that machine, he has to buy that coffee capsule. Third is complementarities. Now, again, complementarities is a matter of interdependence. Now, eBay, the transaction, the commercial transaction, buying and selling, online buying and selling, what you can do through eBay. Now, to succeed that online trading, they need a payment gateway. Now, what they did, they acquired PayPal. Through PayPal, one can make the payments, and once the payment gateway is there, and the logistics are in place for supply to buyer and seller, then the integrated transaction is complete. And that is called complementarities. And finally, efficiency. Efficiency basically drives at cost savings. In what way, or what more efficient way, we can deliver certain goods or services in a cheaper process or cost by making it more efficient without compromising on quality standards. Now, this can be, one example could be that Walmart. Walmart not only started as a discount shopping by giving huge discount, which attracted a lot of customers, but they also ensured the logistics chain, very efficient logistics, very, very quick delivery, like something they called cross-docking process, cross-docking an unique process. Through that, the delivery process is more efficient, and as a result, the logistic cost came down. So efficiency brings the cost down also. Now, we should remember that two important issues in innovative business process. One is integrating key resources and key processes in a unique way. Sorry, I didn't change the slide. Integrating key resources and key processes in a unique way, different from competitors, so as to create an enduring competitive advantage. So, three things are important. One, it has to be integration. The integrating is important. The key resources, key processes, everything has to be integrated to each other. Second, different from the competitors, or a unique way. Otherwise, everybody will copy. In fact, ultimately, everyone is going to copy. But till that time, till that you can create some advantage of this process, you have to create in a differentiate from the other competitors. And finally, that has to create an enduring competitive advantage, not a short-term competitive advantage. Then key to success is constant change and creativity that can keep up with the changes. Now, a few real-life examples. Look at Goodyear and Firestone. They entered the radial tire market much later. So as a result, they lost leadership in the tire market. Xerox in the small copier market, they delayed the whole process. They did get the signal, but they did not ultimately act on the signal very fast. As a result, Canon took over the small copier market. Look at Walmart. Sears was a global leader at retail chain. But Walmart came with innovative process of discounting, or selling at highly discounted rate and with efficient logistics. And ultimately, Walmart took the leadership from Sears. IBM, in the mini computer market, They missed it by years. They're late by years. Motorola introduced cell phone. They launched cell phone in the world. But Nokia took over the leadership because of their distribution channel, the distribution network. Kodak failed to get into the digital film market. And ultimately, other Japanese companies and others, they came into digital film market much faster. So these are some of the examples where the innovative business model was not in action in right point of time. Either it came late or didn't come at all. Now, there's some other positive story. Taco Bell, that multiple chain eating giants. Now, what they did at some stage, they centralized their cleaning, chopping, cooking, all this process in a central place. So, in the process, they got economies of scale. They could have better quality control over that. And ultimately, they could save on cost also and pass on part of the benefit to the consumers. So, all their retail outlets became just assembly and heating up and serving. So everything else, all the supplies came from a central place in every location. Grameen Bank model in Bangladesh. Again, they looked at the bottom of the pyramid, that CK Prahlad, the bottom of the pyramid customers, who are at the bottom of in terms of wealth or whatever. So they were the target customers. And again, a very successful model replicated by many countries of the world, including India. So again, it's a very successful model, and they could innovate in the right way, right time. In fact, there's an old story. I don't know how far it is true. I've heard it. But I've heard from some reliable source that Dabur, long back, used to have one particular item which was some sort of digestive, and there's a difficult name. Some Ajirna, Amla, and all sorts of herbal type of big name. Suddenly somebody gave them an idea, an innovative idea, to do two things. One, change the name, so that all big name became Hajmola. A simple name, Hajmola, easy to say. And now it's available from pawn shop, local small shops, everywhere it's available. So they changed the channel of distribution, and they changed just the name of the product. Product remained what it was, same Hajmola, but immediately the revenue from that went up manifold, just for two changes. One, easily available from anywhere, and two, the name is easy to catch for children, for others who are the real target customer. ITC. Now imagine ITC had it remained a tobacco or cigarette company all these days. Then a lot of restrictions, regulations were coming all over the world on smoking at different places, which can reduce the consumption of tobacco. So they got the signal in right time, and they started diversifying. And diversifying into hospitality, diversifying into all these e-chopal, agro-commodities, and many other areas. So these are some of the examples who got right signals in right time and acted on that. Now, finally to end, I'll get into some personal experience. The company I work for, ICRA, it's a credit rating agency. And at some stage, we started getting signal that the market is going to be overcrowded. There are too many licenses being issued. There's not enough business for that. So we need to think of something different, because we believed that it will be very difficult, as I mentioned, 15 years or beyond that, to sustain the type of operating margin or other things what we were sustaining earlier. So what we did first is we started the product diversification, get into new businesses. We first started management consulting services because our core competence was knowledge skill, managing knowledge and managing knowledge workers. So based on that, we diversified fast into management consulting. Then we diversified into knowledge process outsourcing KPO. Then we diversified into software development, IT. That was one diversification of business. Second, what we did geographical diversification. We opened credit rating agency in Indonesia, PT ICRA Indonesia, which is in operation. We opened in Sri Lanka, ICRA Lanka Limited. We opened in Nepal, ICRA Limited, ICRA Nepal Limited. All are in operation. So we did two things together, geographical diversification and service range diversification. Thank you very much.